The man opens one of the two doors in a room only to find himself facing the back of his own head, trapped in a never-ending cycle. An electrician is fixing the electronic pass system on one of the doors. Once he repairs the lock and enters the correct code, he opens the door and enters the room. However, to his surprise, he finds that he has entered the same room through the opposite door on the right. The man then looks back and returns through the right door, but exits through the left. Strangely, he sees himself standing behind him in the doorway on the right as he stops in the doorway. The electrician also enters the right door and exits through the left, stunned by what he has just witnessed. The man is shocked by the realization that he may be stuck in a spatial loop and attempts to enter various access codes to no avail. After some consideration, he uses his tools to prop open the left door, which has the effect of propping up the right door as well. He then begins to slowly walk to the left and exit through the right repeatedly. As he continues this motion, he gradually picks up speed until he is running, eventually breaking into a hysterical sprint while shouting loudly. Finally, the man becomes exhausted and decides to rest, drinking water and having a snack. Feeling helpless and bored, he crumples up some rubbish and throws it through the open door behind him as a means of venting his frustration. The man discovers that he can perform well even in such a simple task as throwing paper to himself and catching it. Despite his success, he becomes a little depressed and attempts to crawl and catch his own leg, which ultimately fails. Frustrated, he tries entering different codes once again, but nothing changes. As a result, the electrician begins to feel upset and starts doing nonsensical things, such as lying on the floor and trying to find a use for his tools, including a hammer, drill, and tape measure. In a fit of desperation, he decides to use the tape measure as a skipping rope, successfully breaking it. He also tries to mimic a robot, using a clerical knife to produce appropriate sounds. Suddenly, the electrician notices that both doors have closed. He takes apart the electronic lock and repairs something there. Out of nowhere, the doors on the right side of the room suddenly swing open, revealing a mysterious ball that swiftly moves away before the man gets a chance to look at it. Then, a luminous ball emerges and hovers in the center of the room, resembling a massive molecule. The electrician is shocked by this sight, and the ball disappears just as abruptly as it appeared. Soon after, a group of medics emerges from the right door, carrying a stretcher with an unusual woman sitting on it. They calmly pass through the left doors, with the electrician following them eagerly. However, unlike the others, he is unable to leave the room and remains stuck inside. The man's frustration reaches a boiling point, causing him to lash out by screaming, crying, and throwing a fit before eventually collapsing onto the floor and drifting off to sleep. Suddenly, the room becomes dark, and the glowing ball reappears, only this time the figure beneath it appears to be either a child or a dwarf. But just as suddenly, everything returns to normal, leaving the man to wonder if it was all just a dream. Upon waking up, the electrician decides to meditate for a while, hoping to clear his mind. Later, he returns to the electronic lock and inadvertently triggers a digital disturbance, similar to a glitch in the Matrix. To his surprise, another electrician appears from the right door, who happens to be his identical twin. Both are bewildered by the encounter, and the new arrival quickly attempts to flee the room. But he returns. Two men are now present in the room, and the second man tries to exit through the right door, but the first man blocks his way. The first man starts feeling sick, and they become unhappy with each other's company. They stop communicating altogether, and one of them falls asleep in a corner while the other examines the exposed wires of the lock. The electrician decides to create a short circuit and uses a clerical knife to cut his clothes into pieces, trying to make a rope out of them. He even pours juice over the pieces to improve their conductivity. The man attaches one end of the rope to the wire and throws the other end into the doorway, so that the rope lies on the floor in the middle of the room. However, since the rope is a little short, he decides to close the circuit with his body. As a result, he grabs a bare wire and electrocutes himself. The light in the room disappears for a moment, and the mysterious fireball with the child reappears and disappears again. The second electrician, who had been sleeping in the corner, wakes up to see his dead twin and screams in terror. The man decides to slightly open the doors on the right, and he finally notices that the loop has ended. With joy, he runs away. Later, it turns out that the first electrician did not die, but only lost consciousness. When he wakes up, he stands up and chooses the left door, behind which he finds digital interference that resembles a code error in a poorly written computer game. Hope you enjoyed, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button for more movie recaps.